We are almost to 2026, and my oh my, it is going to have a much different feeling and flair than 2025 did. 2025 had a lot of the planets going back and forth over signs, moving into new signs, moving back into old signs. Well, 2026 is more moving forward. It is, if there is one word for 2026 and for January in particular, I would say it is activation. January 2026 is a month of amazing, incredible activation with about 11 new cycles beginning. This is wild. So if you've been feeling stuck, if you've been feeling like things aren't going anywhere, if you've been feeling like you need a reset in the world and in your own personal life, then January is the month for you. Hi, I'm Sarah at Life with Training Wheels, where I utilize tools like astrology, tarot, and other spiritual and health tools to help you transform your life, help you take control, release any victim mentality, and realize that you are the creator of your life and you write the storyline. You have more control than you think you do. So if that is something that sounds like you want to stick around for, a vibe you can vibe with, I encourage you to stick around. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for joining. If you are returning, thank you so much for trusting me and coming back to hear more. I am a Western tropical zodiac astrologer utilizing the whole house system. So that is how I will be going through and dissecting the astrology of the month of January. How this is going to go is I am going to go through the collective reading first and then go ahead and dive into each sign. So before we pull up the chart, let's kind of just look to see where we have been. So in November, it was a very water concentrated month. Water heavy energy had us all in our emotions and feeling unsettled and feeling the instability of, like, we could all feel the undercurrent of things needing to change, things wanting to change, but we were in a very receptive mode of tapping in, tuning in, to our intuition, to feeling what felt right, what felt wrong. Like, it was very much a receptive, like, feeling into the energy, feeling into the undercurrents of what is going on in our own life and in the world at large. And then December, we saw the energy moved into Sagittarius and into fire. So this made us more busy, clearly, with the holiday season, that it just naturally happens every year. But it also provided squares and challenge points and opportunities to the Divine Mini Grand Trine that we have had humming in the background for a while and will be with us through 2029. It provided squares and challenge points and opportunities to get more clear on where we're headed in the future and to think bigger. Sagittarius energy is thinking bigger, thinking future, thinking long term. And then January will bring us into Capricorn. The end of December and January brings us to Capricorn, which is more the energy of structure and stability and building and creating, starting to create the foundation. So we've intuited it, we've thought long term, kind of with the squares, had the opportunity to flush out what things might work, what things might not, what's real, what's not. And now January is kind of this, all right, now it's time to start building, and it is the month of activation, like I said. So this month we have, from all the inner to outer planets, trines instead of squares like we did last month. So last month they were kind of giving us the decision points. This month we're getting to act on what we learned last month. But there are from all the inner planets, there are going to be squares to Chiron. We still carry over from last month as well, a square from Jupiter to Chiron pretty much all month long, as well as all the inner planets will be making oppositions to Jupiter. So there are those continued growth patterns, continued growth opportunities within our wounded healer, within our I am going on this month. But we're really starting the activation of beginning to build the new while we continue still to dismantle the old while things are still in Pisces and before they fully move to new signs. So I've been talking, about this, the background energy being this divine mini grand trine. And I just want to show you really quick before we get started that January, this is the main show. This is the main energy signature of the month, is the divine mini grand trine. It's the thing that stays throughout. It is the activation point. It is go time. It is time to start the new you in January. If there ever was a time to do New Year's resolutions and all that stuff, this is the January to do it. It's time to build the new society, to stand up to the systems that aren't working, and to quietly or loudly disengage. So I'm just going to go through and show week to week, just like an overview, just show how the mini grand trine is the main focal point. And the main focal point is where the mini grand trine is pointing to, right? So here we are, January 1st, 2026, and we can see the mini grand trine right here. I do also want to point out we will continue, like I said, to have the square all month long from Jupiter to Chiron as well, and a lot of activation this month of the north and south nodes. But the main focal point is this Neptune and Saturn. So January 6th, so let's go ahead and move forward 1 week. So you see that we are now at January 8th. We are now at January 8th. We still have this mini grand trine, but we also now have a kite pattern here just with the moon. So that's kind of a fleeting pattern. Yeah, we have the mini grand trine, the square from Jupiter to Chiron. We have planets still interacting with the north and south node. And yeah, the focal point this week is the second week is going to be the healing in Chiron, as well as the Neptune and Saturn. So then we move forward another week. And this divine mini grand trine gets loud, right? So now we are at January 15th, and this is the loudest thing going on, as well as this opposition to Jupiter, and this, T-square to Chiron. So we're going to be focusing on Chiron, and on this point here with the Neptune and Saturn. Then we move forward another week. We are at January 22nd. You can still see that the square between Jupiter and Chiron and this divine mini triangle is still very active, wanting us again to focus on this energy with Neptune and Saturn. Then we go forward finally one more week, January 29th, and we still have this mini grand trine is the main player here, as well as the Jupiter square to Chiron. So pretty amazing themes going on all month long that is focusing on this these two planets. Like that's where we are focused. That's where all the other conversations are kind of supporting this, asking us to continue to work on this, and we are going to go through that. I normally just do these month ahead videos kind of by, looking at what the overall energy is and talking about that, but there is so much specific things going on, so many activation points this month that I want to talk about all of them. So we are going to kind of go week by week, day by day where necessary. So we're just going to start out the discussion with January 1st. Okay, so we start out the month, we start out the new year with a bang. Mercury moves into the sign of Capricorn on January 1st, and what makes this particularly important is now we have all the personal planets except for the moon in the sign of Capricorn. This is pretty rare because of the speed at which the planets move. So the sun moves about the sun stays in each sign about 1 month. Mercury is in each sign for about 3 weeks. Venus is in each sign for about 5 weeks. And Mars is in each sign for about 2 months. So them aligning and being all in the same sign is a pretty rare occurrence. From what I was looking at, it happens maybe once every few hundred years, up to about once in a century or centuries. So this is a rare occurrence to have this stack of planets in the sign, and we're going to get it in both Capricorn and Aquarius. The second half of the month, all these planets, like the last 10 days, all these planets are going to be in Aquarius with Pluto. So that'll be even bigger. That's 5 planets. But it just the fact of how rare, like everything going on in January is rare. So just the fact that all these planets are going to be in the same sign, working together is pretty rare. And so basically what this means is that our ego and spirit with the sun, our mind with Mercury, our heart with Venus, and our will with Mars are all aligning together. They're all on the same team. They're all on the same page all month long. As they move through Capricorn and Aquarius, they are all on the same team, wanting the same things, having the same goals, supporting the same energies here with Saturn and Neptune, as well as supporting when they, so they're going to be trining Saturn and Neptune, and then they're all going to also be squaring Chiron and opposing Jupiter. So they're all on the same team. They're all on the same alignment path with wanting to get us to be aligned to our highest and best selves all month long. And they all also will be interacting with the nodes of fate, which is pretty crazy as well. And besides the fact that we have this mini grand trine, and that's the main energy that's continuous, that's the main chart pattern that is continuous throughout the entire month. The other reason why I say we are focused on the Saturn Neptune area, and especially Saturn, is because Saturn rules both Capricorn and Aquarius. It is the traditional ruler of Aquarius and the only ruler of Capricorn. So it rules everything that's going on this month, all the building that we're doing and restructuring that we're doing, it is the ruler of it. So all of what's going on here answers to this Saturn in Pisces. So then if we move forward to January 2nd, we have Chiron stationing direct. So when planets or points are in retrograde, it is a time of bringing the energy internal and a time for like internal review, right? So this was about inward understanding, discovery, excavation, and a lot of shadow work in healing our wounded I am energy, right? Wherever this falls in your chart. So then when Chiron stations direct, it moves that energy more outward. It's applying the wisdom that we have gained while we were in reflection and building the self-mastery and integrating the healing and sharing it. It is living the healing out loud. And as we'll talk about later, between January 11th and 15th, all 4 of the personal planets will be in that square to Chiron, giving it tension points, but kind of activating the healing, right? If we've had this internal energy and then we have these squares, it moves direct, and then we have these squares a little bit after it turns direct, it's really giving us the opportunity, although it might, cause some friction, it's really giving us the opportunity to apply what we've learned and know that we have learned it. Basically activating the embodiment of the healing that we have done and giving us an opportunity to see that and to be proud of ourselves. Now, if you've been watching me for long, you know that in these collective readings, I like to look up the Sabian symbols for the planets that are like staying in one particular degree, wanting us to learn and integrate a lesson. So since Chiron is staying at the 22 degree mark of Aries, I want to look at the Sabian symbol, which would translate to Aries 23. So this symbol is woman in pastel colors carrying a heavy and valuable but veiled load, the rich potential of every moment and situation. Assertiveness and desire together give birth to create new possibilities. And I can already tell you that that is a lot of what this month is about, is assertiveness and desire together. That's all, like we talked about, that's all the planets moving together at once. Ego, mind, heart, will, all aligning, spirit. And, they're going to be squaring this energy point, giving us the opportunity to really learn the lessons of this chart point. So creative assertiveness toward furtherment of potentials. When clear, assertive purpose applies to a field of potential, something else is brought into being. Existence is not sterile. It is brimming with a polarized life force that cannot fail to create new life. Man, woman, child is a pattern that repeats universally as artist, materials, artwork, for example, or ideal, limitation, and inventiveness. So then it goes on. Vitality does not find its exaltation in petty things. A modest woman with her own burdens is somewhat disinclined to open up. We consider here the basic importance of anchoring ourselves inwardly. In order to attend to our own issues, we must somehow cut ourselves off and establish a wall against intrusion. This can be done elegantly and without giving offense by veiling ourselves and being cautious about opening up to new things. Each of us can reach up to a state of personal brilliance. For this to occur, the various elements need to be in correct relationship, and we have to give them our fullest attention, investing our sense of identity within them rather than externals. We must not engage in trivia if we are to remain true, since actually we each have the capacity for genius, but becoming bogged down in pettifogging niceties will certainly erode this capacity. So we need to learn to be comfortable in ourselves, to be true in ourselves, right? And to limit the outside chaos, limit the outside influence. And I think that is what we are learning and mastering, is how to claim our sovereignty. It is best to avoid situations where there is pressure to conform to low standards of interaction. We must, to defend ourselves against the insidious vampirism of those people who drag us down to their level of mediocrity. If we lack true involvement, then external events are mostly distractions. Any experience of enduring value is established only to the extent that we take personal responsibility for its outcome. Personal integrity. It is easier to say no than goodbye, so it is usually better to resist new involvement than abruptly curtail what has already begun. So be mindful of the things you say yes to, right? No is an okay statement to make. We can afford to understate our aims while we establish the worth of engagement. In fact, our very vitality and personal integrity will often depend on such an approach. We do not want to disappoint another. It could lead to resentment and perhaps attack. Such an attitude, where we concern ourselves deeply with what is our business and shy away from what is not, leads towards an unimpeachable integrity of character. It also promotes a great fullness of life, not only for us, but also a significant and proper contribution to the community. This is because we successfully engage with what we are doing, with not much wastage of effort. We may need honestly to identify any disinclination to engage with the community at large on fair terms, and to check that we are not taking more than we are giving. Eventually, this would bring distress. It becomes clear that most interactions are inconsequential and that the superficial variances between people are unimportant. If we are not careful, we can easily waste too much time and energy dealing with things of no ultimate worth. A certain reticence to become involved with such trivial matters may therefore be particularly helpful whenever we have heavy loads to carry. So, this is, take what you want from this, but this is a lesson in standing in our own, not letting the outside noise distract us, being true to ourselves above all else. We are the people that we have to live with. We are the people that, we are the only ones who are going to be with us our entire lives, and the only people we really need to make happy. That's not to say that you should do anything in life to hurt or harm anybody else, but you are of your own biggest concern, and that is true of everybody else. So if you feel, this is one of the lessons, I think, too, not only how to stand in your own right, but also to let other people do the same for themselves, right? To not take it personally if somebody is putting themselves first, right? That's what they are meant to do, just as that is what you are meant to do. You need to fill your cup first before you bring yourself to anybody else, and you need to allow other people to do the same thing. If they aren't conforming to your will or what you expect of them, that's on you, because you have those expectations. They're doing what's right for themselves. So we need to allow ourselves to be sovereign in our own right and allow others to do that as well, and to not take it personally when they are. They're doing what they are supposed to do, just as we are. I don't know what happened to the video there, but we are going to break here. This ended up being an hour and 40-minute long video, so I'm going to break it up into about 15 to 25-minute chunks. So we're done with this one. Tune into part 2 for a discussion about, let me see what was next. Next up is talking about January 3rd, a full moon in Cancer, and then walking through January 6th through January 10th, and then we'll see where that gets us to. But that's a big one. That is when we start having all these conjunctions, all these activation points that is so rare to have 11 conjunctions in 1 month. So that's going to be the next video. So I hope to see you tune in for that. See you in a minute.